look, people go to school and they'll go to college and, and put in 8, 12 years to get a job, but they open a brokerage account and with no training think that they should be getting great results because they saw crypto or their friend, made money in the stock market. This is no different than any other business or any other profession. It takes skill, it takes expertise, and it takes time. The one thing, no matter how much Bill O'Neill, myself, or anybody passes on, you can't force experience. So that takes time. You have to gain that experience. I mean, if you were to be a baseball player, a basketball player, a football, these people play in little league, they play in high school, they play in college, the whole life they dedicate, and before they get to the pros, and then they're a rookie, and it takes a long time to be great at anything. So don't be so hard on yourself.
You have to learn this business over a long period of time, into that 4 and 5 and 6 and 8 years to be able to perfect it. You can't go down to Florida, be down there for 3 months, and then be put on national television or be put on a WrestleMania. It's going to be they're going to fart at it.
You got to really, really concentrate and get good at one thing, commit to it, and think in terms of 5 to 10 years, not 5 to 10 months or a couple of years. Make a 10-year plan. Just imagine if you're 30 years old, 40 years old, if you could get this down in 5 or 10 years and change your life, that's a great goal.
You got to find out what you're good at, where your passion is, and that's where you're going to make the money. And you're going to enjoy it and be able to actually make it past that rocky road, because nobody becomes rich in 1 or 2 years. It's a misnomer. People are lying to you when they say it. It takes years and years and years before you really make big, big money.
Yeah, no, well, my biggest drawdowns came in the first 5 or 6 years, where that's where I blew myself up a few times because I had no clue what I was doing. But since I, got my risk management under control and really committed to a strategy, it took about 8 or 10 years before I really, started knowing how to do what I do now, and I've been doing the same thing now for 40 years. In 30 years, I'm not sure. I don't think I've even had one single down year. If I have, it's been, single digits.
You start out, nothing. So everything is simple. And then as you learn and you apply certain things and you try things and you learn more and you read more books and you listen to more of this and absorb more of that, things get more complex. You have more indicators, more time frames, more parameters on the time frames. Everything gets more complex. But then you start taking things away, removing an indicator you don't use, ignoring a news source that confuses you or causes hesitation, and you start stripping things away, and you get to the other side of complexity, and you're left with just like a simple chart with like 1 or 2 indicators, and that's it. And so Holmes said, embrace the simplicity on the other side of complexity. And what happens is you get to the other side of complexity and you reject it because you think, no way, it can't be that easy. I want the barrier. I just spent 3 years to get here. And I want the barrier to entry. I want the barrier to get over here to be bigger than this. Okay, it can't be this simple. It can't just be this one chart with these 2 indicators and that's it.
So do you have any other advice that we'd like to give traders today?
Well, I think not my advice, but Jack Schwager's advice that I mentioned earlier, that, you need to remember there are so many different ways to trade. There are almost countless ways to make money in the market. But each of those ways is very, very hard to find. And I think remembering that this is a difficult thing to do, and it's very easy to get discouraged. And I think just having some understanding that the learning curve is likely to be many years, and that the first stages of success are you stop losing money. I've had a number of traders come to me and say something like, I'm quitting. I'm giving this up because I've been doing this for 3 years and I'm just at the point where I'm breaking even. I'm not losing money, but I'm not making money and I give up. And, I say to those traders, that's a huge mistake because what you have just described is success. That's the first stage of success. You go through this situation where you're losing money, and then eventually you stop losing money, or you mostly stop losing money. And that's the first stage of success. But that may take many years to get there. It may take 2 to 3 years to get there. And then the next step is you're making a little bit of money. Maybe you're covering your commissions. You're paying for your data services. Your trading is still kind of net break even. And maybe now we're 3 to 5 years into the journey, and you need to know that before you start. That's completely normal. That's absolutely to be expected. And from there, then you can start making money and start figuring out how to make money. But too many people are in this for a quick buck. And it's definitely a skill, and developing that skill just takes time. It takes time to grow into it.
You can't come in and be profitable tomorrow. It's not going to happen. Is it something you really want to do? Do you have the trading bug? If you do, if it's something that you enjoy, then take little tiny steps moving forward every day. You will find yourself getting better and better and better. And the longer you stick with it, the better you'll become. The average, something like 95% of the people, of traders, are not trading after 2 years. They've dropped out. They're done with it. If you last more than 2 years, you've got a whole lot better chance of becoming a profitable trader than the 95 or whatever percentage it is that's dropped out. There's no real statistics out there. I'm just telling you what I read on different sites and whatnot.
He does some stuff, man. Like I don't even know how it's possible. You know, he twirls that bar around. It looks like it weighs 5 pounds the way he does it, but it weighs like 45 pounds, and he does it like it's a toothpick. He's unnaturally strong. He's worked a long time to get that way.
If you're 1 to 3 years, 1 to 5 years, and even 1 to 7 years in the market, your approach to corrections in bear market has to be very different than when you're past that 7-year or 8-year threshold, where things sort of start to click. You're trading on feel all of a sudden, and something different. You look at the market from a different lens.
The difference between, I think, winning and losing a battle to get to a goal is, I think the winner, as they put in a year and nothing happens, they say, I'm a year closer. And then they put in a second year and a third year, and they say, wow, I must be closer. I mean, I put in 3 whole years. Now, 6 years later, they're still not there. And they're going, it's got to be right around the corner. The other person who doesn't make it usually doesn't make it anywhere near that point, because after the first year, they go, oh, I'm never going to get there. Another 6 months or a year, they go, oh, this is just getting worse. And that's it. I'm not going to keep waiting. I wasted all this time. They're thinking about the time they wasted and looking back of how far they've come from where they started, as opposed to thinking how close they are to the goal. It's just building mental expectancy.
I mean, how old are you now?
46.
46, and you turned pro what age? Or you've been playing? When were you start playing snooker?
I was 14 when I started, so I was really
quite late. Yeah.
So I was only played 4 years, 4 or 5 years.
Just stop. Ball run.
That's why I'm ball run.
Yeah. He missed the black and blocked the pocket for the red. Nice game. You have to play safe. So yeah, 14.
Yeah. So I think I started late, sort of. Like you say, I'm the same age as Ronnie.
Yeah, well, we all know Dylan. Before you become Dylan, you were a sparring partner.
Yeah, that's it. I never had a long amateur career. I sparred to learn my trade.
Yeah,
simple.
Yeah, which is great for you. I really appreciate you sparring to get to learn your trade.
And I'm bashing you up then.
Now, one question I often get asked is, how long did it take for you to go from, like, the first time you hear about trading to being profitable as a trader?
Okay, well, I'll tell you how long it took me, and then I'll tell you what I tell people. I tell people it's going to take you, on average, 7 years. And the reason I say this, not to be profitable. You can be profitable well before then, but to be actually doing it for a living. Look at doctors or lawyers or any profession out there. They go to college and they go through some years of medical school, and everybody thinks that's fine. They'll spend $200,000 at a college to be a doctor, and everybody thinks that's fine, and it is. It's great. However, when you talk to a trader and you tell him, well, it may take you 7 years to do this, for a living, they think you're nuts. Well, why can't I learn this in a day? All the time on the internet, you see, come with me, I'll show you my system and make you a millionaire in a month. Mm-hmm. Bull crap.
So many of them, yeah.
Yeah, it's I can't stand them. Oh goodness, drive me up the wall. Anyhow, So it took me about 5 years to become profitable.
Zanger on the line. He's a momentum trader and founder of ChatPattern.com. He's the world record holder for the largest percent for a personal portfolio gain for a 12-month period of time and 18th period of time in the history of the stock market. Dan, how you doing this morning?
Doing real well. Thank you very much.
We'd love to talk about your story. Was that your first foray into trading?
The big gain was not my first foray into the trading. I'd actually been trading heavily for 6 or 8 years prior, lots of wild swings in my portfolio. It wasn't until the internet bubble got underway in February of 1998 that things really changed. I got spanked pretty hard up until that time. Actually, it was the hard spanking that really opened my eyes to how crushing the stock market could be, and really changed my way of thinking and belief in the market. The market is here to take your money. They're not here to make you money or to hand you a check.
90% of the traders are better off being in cash. Don't try to be something you're not. Build yourself up slowly over a span of time and keep 10 years and 15 years in mind.
You need to embrace these setbacks and use them as teachers, and go back and take a look at what happened and study and realize that even another cycle or two, you may not get there. It may take a few more. People underestimate what they can do in 5 or 10 years and overestimate what they can do in 1, 2, 3 years. So you got to think in decades, not in months or years. Definitely first base in this business is 5 to 10 years. Okay. Maybe you won't feel that way at the time, but after you're doing this for 40 years, you'll look back and go, and oh my God, at 10 years into this, I didn't know anything at all. So again, but it's well worth it. Especially if you're young and just starting, if you put 10 years into something that pays you for a lifetime and is life-changing income or wealth, then it's well worth the investment.